Hey folks, Thursday was the top 13 do-overs on Season 3 of The X Factor with the contestants singing what was originally supposed to be their Save Me songs, but of course somebody messed up the voting numbers at the end of the show on Wednesday. If this episode didn't do nothing else, it proved that these shows just do not need to be 2 hours long, because this episode was only an hour long and it moved along quite nicely. Well, it was a tight fit, but there was no riffraff. We didn't get any more Motown history lessons from Super Mario. But best of all, we didn't have to suffer through those useless intros that are chock full of the same backstories that we've all heard a half a dozen times by now. Now, I know that some people are upset that we didn't get to hear from all of the judges on each performance, but, if all they're going to do is kiss the same butts week in and week out, then who needs them? Anyway, I'm going to try my best to keep this review quick and to the point, just like the show was this week. First up was Josh Levi singing Stay by Rihanna. Don't he remember what happened last time he sang a Rihanna song? I don't know how smart it was to risk that again, but he actually pulled it off this time. I thought it was quite good, but I still don't think it was enough to turn him into a serious contender, because raise your hand if you think Josh Levi has any chance of winning this season. Put your hand down, Josh. Next up was Rachel Potter singing Do It Anyway by Martina McBride. They had her intro as Ryan Paige, though, which is funny because it was Rachel's number that they screwed up on Wednesday, and then they screwed up her intro on Thursday. Boy, somebody behind the scenes sure don't like her, do they? Can't say I'll blame him, though, because I thought this performance was just okay. I haven't really liked anything that she's done since her audition, though. Next up was Carlos Guevera singing Cannonball. I didn't understand a single word of it. Not a word. I'd have an easier time understanding Paulina Rubio at a Paula Abdul pill-popping party, so I hated it. Next up was Restless Road singing Don't You Want to Stay. Which one of y'all boys is supposed to be Kelly Clarkson? It ain't the one in the middle, that's for damn sure. Or the one on the left. Or on the right. Okay, so they all pretty much sounded a mess. And you could see the fear in Simon's face throughout the whole performance. He don't want to lose his boys. Well, he said something went wrong with the track, which means that they must not have had the background singers turned up loud enough, and Simon actually got to hear what Restless Road sounds like for a change. Next up was Ellona Santiago singing Titanium, and she pretty much slayed it. Now, I didn't really love the song choice for her, though, because it's getting to be an overdone song on these shows, but it was nice to hear her sing a slower song for a change without 1,000 dancers running around on stage. Next up was Jeff Gutt singing In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. I thought this was a kind of a wonky song choice because the Save Me songs usually have a certain feel to them, and this is a pretty creepy song, so I thought that was strange. It wasn't terrible, though, even though it sounded like he was saying combing in the air tonight. Next up was Alex and Sierra singing Gimme Love, and it was quite good, but they need to muzzle that damn audience. My gosh, this should have been a nice, quiet performance, but it ended up sounding like, I don't know, like a bunch of zombies had come in and started eating the audience. And from the look on Sierra's face, she always has that look of constant fear on her face. We would have never known. I've been watching The Walking Dead too much. Listen at me, starting to talk about zombies on a singing show. No, Simon said that he's going to let Alex and Sierra pick their own songs from now on, which means Alex is going to be picking the songs, and Sierra will just do whatever he says. Next up was Khya Cohen singing Distant Dreamer. She sang it really well, but she did it without her Amy Winehouse impersonation, so I am getting really confused by this girl, because in 2 nights, she sounded like 2 different people. And it's the inconsistency that really is just not doing her any favors. Demi called her a little Aretha. No, not even a little. Next up was Carlito Olivero singing If You're Not the One. Now we know why Carlito was so nervous about singing a ballad this week, because he isn't very good at it. This performance was horrific, and that falsetto, it was more shrill and shrieky than those annoying screaming girls in the audience, so I hated it. When it was over, though, Simon said, Is he sick? And Paulina was like, I think he's sick, but he nailed it. Give me a freaking break. He wasn't sick. Simon was just trying to make excuses for him because he likes him and doesn't want him to get eliminated just yet, and with that performance, it's a distinct possibility. Next up was Lillie McCloud singing Who Wants to Live Forever. I thought that was a bit of a strange song choice, because didn't she spend all week crying because Simon called her dated and theatrical, and then she does a Queen song? That is like the definition of dated and theatrical. Of course she sounded flawless as she always does. But she's going to soon need to do something upbeat, though. Maybe she can do one of her own dance songs this week for 80s Week. Next up was Sweet Suspense singing That Should Be Me by Justin Bieber, and I thought it was pretty good, but when it was over, Simon acted like it was terrible. Well, he didn't exactly come out and say that, but it's what he meant. He wants everyone to remember the other performances that they've done, so I guess he only likes his groups when he can't hear them over the background singers. Next up was Ryan Paige singing Born This Way, and it was a whole lot better than her Wednesday performance. It did feel a little bit desperate, but since it was supposed to be a Save Me song, I guess you're kind of supposed to pull out all the stops, so I kind of liked it. It was still a little bit overdramatic, though, and I don't think it was great enough for a 4-judge standing ovation. But we'll leave it at that. And the last of the night was Tim Olstad singing I Believe I Can Fly. Well, you can fly right on out the door with silly song choices like that. No, he sounded wedding singer fine, but I didn't even know if the pimp spot is going to be enough to save him with a song choice like that. When it was over, Simon was like, you can't woo in the middle of the song. Simon, that's how it was done in the original, and let's be fair to Tim Olstad. A lot of people that cover this song do the woo, and most of them sound awful doing it. Tim actually nailed the woo, but I still think he's going home this week. If he doesn't go home Wednesday based on his last performance, he'll probably go home on Thursday based on his next performance. He just isn't that popular. Now, I would send Carlos home if it was up to me, and he'll probably be gone at some point this week too. But he was the most popular boy coming into the live shows, so I think that might buy him some time. I don't know. So anyway, that's it. Leave me a comment. Come be my Facebook friend, and I'll see y'all next time. It's 80s week for Wednesday. That should be fun.